Hello everybody, my name is Ratnos and welcome to This Week in Mythic Plus. This week's affixes are Tyrannical, Bursting, Volcanic, I knew that one, and of course Tormented. It's actually one of the better weeks on the calendar, arguably one of the best Tyrannical weeks, so we may see some fairly high keys done this coming week, or this week that has just started now. I tried to record this video last night like I usually do, but I kind of scuffed it, so sorry this video is coming out a little bit late. That's why it's coming out a few hours later than it usually does. Anyways, of the Tyrannical weeks on the calendar, this is likely to be either the best, maybe the second best. Other good candidates are like the Raging Volcanic Tyrannical week, but this one's pretty good. So rather than go too much into dungeon by dungeon, there's not really too many specific points to talk about with these affixes. You know, you're used to the kind of spots where on-death affixes in, say, Plaguefall, those big pulls with a lot of mobs. You have to be careful of bursting, as always, in those spots. But rather than do that, if you're interested in seeing each dungeon, weekly route, in the description below, by the way, let's talk a little bit about some of these specific affixes, because I kind of want to turn this video series for the next couple weeks, as we get back to these weeks we've already done, into more of a look at the specific affixes in terms of how exactly they function or specific tools that can help you. So first off, Bursting. Bursting, if you are not somebody who has one, I would actually recommend, if you ever find yourself being surprised by the amount of bursting damage you're taking, being unaware, extending a bursting stack without realizing it, or dying to a bursting effect while you have Health Stone or Health Potion or defensives available, I would recommend getting a weak aura that helps highlight it for you. So I'll put some examples, some different ones that can work in the description below, a couple different options for bursting weak auras. But basically you're just looking for something that, you know, will show you how many stacks you have. Maybe it'll change colors or play a sound or do a slash yell as the bursting stacks get high. And whichever one of these you get, you can go and mess around with the specific numbers for when it will do those things in the conditions, or you can, you know, take two bursting weak auras and Frankenstein them together and get both the color and the sound and the slash yell, whatever you want, whatever will help you with the affix. And that can be really useful to prevent that kind of clueless DPS syndrome where you just extend a 6 stack into a 7 stack because you weren't really paying attention, because your healer had been doing such a good job dealing with the 6 stack that then the 7 stack, you know, gets you because they used all their stuff assuming it wasn't going to extend. So that's the bursting affix. Not too much more to cover there. The affix I really kind of want to go in depth on this week is actually Volcanic, because Volcanic is an affix that a lot of people don't know how it specifically functions. So let's talk about it. Volcanic, of course, you know, if you're in combat with an enemy, it will try and spawn volcanoes, and it will target people to spawn those volcanoes under. It can never target somebody that it is in melee with. So if this is the enemy, if this blue thing is the enemy, and you are this reddish pink thing, if you are standing here, this enemy cannot target you with the volcanoes it's trying to spawn. There will be no volcanoes spawning if your entire group, right? If your entire group is in melee with this thing, you won't have any volcanoes spawning. Similarly, mobs can't try and spawn volcanoes if they're stunned either. So if you pull a whole pack and AoE stun them, they won't try and spawn any volcanoes until they're outside of the AoE stun. And again, they'll only target people who are at range. So if you have 4 people in melee with a mob and 1 person at ranged, that 1 person is going to have a lot of volcanoes targeting them. Of course, the volcanoes sometimes are not directly under their feet. Sometimes they don't require movement, but sometimes they do. And particularly, if a lot of mobs are coming out of an AoE stun all at once, you'll probably see 5 or 6 volcanoes all targeting that person at the same time, and they will certainly have to move from those pretty quickly. So that's one thing with how it works. Of course, I alluded to there as well. It scales with the number of mobs you're fighting too. So if you're fighting 1 mob, that's one thing that's going to be trying to spawn volcanoes. If you're fighting more mobs, more volcanoes will be spawning as well. And due to the way that they work, they don't care about what you are in melee with. They care about what they are in melee with. So if there are 2 enemies, right? Let's say these 2 blue dots are enemies. This pink person here that I will denote with this green arrow, this one right there, cannot spawn. Volcanoes can't target them, right? Because they're in melee with both enemies. But this person here, the other green arrow, they can have a volcano spawn under them, because even though they're in melee with this one, right, they aren't in melee with this one. And so this one will spawn volcanoes under them, just to add a couple more arrows to the scene here. And there, as you can see, this diagram perfectly explains how the volcanic affix works. Feel free to screenshot it, send it to your guildies, and be like, hey, here's the infographic on how volcanic works. Hope this video helped. Good luck in your keys this week. Thanks everybody for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.